tonight in New York City.
Our city is in crisis right now.
People of New York City are concerned.
The top two candidates for New York City public advocate are going after your vote and each other.
He is a self-proclaimed democratic socialist who has said we need to defund the police.
She doesn't seem to know what the office is and the powers of the office, so that's concerning.
Tonight, they're live on the same stage. Incumbent public advocate Jumaane Williams.
My job is to make sure I'm focused on what's best for the city of New York.
And New York State Assembly member Jenifer Rajkumar.
I want to be the best public advocate that our city has ever seen.
From Pix 11, your local election headquarters, this is Race for New York City Public Advocate, the 2025 Democratic Primary Debate. Co-sponsored by NYC Votes, the voter engagement initiative of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. 1010 wins at 92.3 FM. 94.7 The Block, El Diario Nueva York, and Schneps Media. Now, here are your moderators, Pix 11's Dan Manarino and Henry Rossoff.
And good evening on this debate night in New York City. I'm Dan Manarino, here along with my colleague Henry Rossoff. We thank you all at home for joining us for this important hour-long Democratic primary debate being held with just a little more than a week to go before the polls open for early voting. The role of public advocate, let's talk about it, is a crucial one for New York City. The advocate serves as a watchdog for New Yorkers. The office holder can introduce legislation to the city council. And this person also investigates complaints about city services. And perhaps most importantly, the public advocate is next in line to the mayor. The two Democratic candidates joining us tonight are the ones that met the New York City Campaign Finance Board's requirements, and you can find those on our website. The board, by the way, is the nonpartisan independent city agency that administers the city's public matching funds program and oversees the citywide debates. It also equips voters with the resources they need to participate in local democracy, like the New York City Voter Guide through its NYC Votes voter engagement initiative. And remember, New York City voters have never had as much power as they do right now with the advent of ranked choice voting. So be sure to make your voice heard.
And in an attempt to reach the most viewers, this debate is available on several platforms in different languages, broadcasting in English on Pix 11, streaming on Pix 11 Plus, Pix11.com, and the Pix 11 YouTube page, as well as on the Odyssey app and the 1010 Wins website. It's also available in Spanish on Pix 11 by selecting the SAP option. Plus, we have Spanish subtitles available, and we're streaming in Spanish on Pix11.com, as well as on the Odyssey app and the Wins Noticias website. To watch the debate in Mandarin, head to the Facebook page of the Chinese American Planning Council. We have that Mandarin stream embedded in an article on our site as well.
Candidates, let's get to tonight's rules. Each of you will get 60 seconds to answer a question, and for any follow-ups, you will get 30 seconds. And you will have up to 30 seconds for rebuttals if you are called upon. The ringing of a bell will be used to signal that your time has expired. And there's the bell. And we should also note that the candidates' positions on stage, as well as the order they are being asked questions and the order they deliver closing statements, were decided by random draw. And with all of that out of the way, candidates, let us begin. And Ms. Rajkumar, we're going to start with you tonight. You've appeared numerous times alongside Mayor Eric Adams. In fact, Politico crunched the numbers. You appeared with Mayor Adams 151 times since he took office. But can you point to one thing that the mayor has done that you have not supported and why? You have 60 seconds.
Absolutely. I'm Jenifer Rajkumar, and every win I've ever had has been against all odds. My mom was born in a mud hut in India. My parents came to this country with $300 and a suitcase. I went to UPenn, to Stanford Law School, and became a civil rights lawyer, taking down large corporations. I then became the first South Asian American woman ever elected to New York State office. So everything I've ever done has been completely independent. And yes, I've disagreed with the mayor on many things, such as, for example, mental health. I introduced the most comprehensive mental health plan in 60 years, the Empire State of Mind Act. But I also know that to get things done in government, you need to collaborate. And I'm proud that I got the mayor to shut down illegal smoke shops. I got the mayor to make Diwali a school holiday in the city of New York. But I would like to say something very serious before we proceed. And that is that yesterday on New York One, a woman came forward and said that she was drugged and assaulted
and Ms. Rajkumar,
in the office of of the public advocate.
We're going to get to those accusations in just a moment, but I just wanted to let you button up the issue. We will get to those accusations.
They need to be addressed.
We will address those issues. I just wanted to let you button up the issue on one thing you disagree with the mayor on.
Yes, so on mental health, I have said that we need a comprehensive mental health plan. It's not enough to say we're going to involuntarily commit people who are mentally ill.
Thank you very much. That is your time, and we will get to those accusations. But, Mr. Williams, I want to get to the question here. Voters have elected you twice to this position. You've held it for 6 years. You've been outspoken against the mayor, using the office to criticize his tenure. But can you actually point to one thing that the mayor has done that you have supported, and why? You have 60 seconds.
Peace and blessings to everyone. Love and light to you all. Thank you for having us here. I want to mention that the word advocate is actually in the title, public advocate. And I believe I have the most experience in actually turning advocacy into action and into policy. We've passed more pieces of legislation than all the previous public advocates combined, and I'm very proud of that. But there's so much more that needs to be done. You can just ask my mom, who just turned 75, is still out there protesting inequity and injustice. My daughters, who are 17 and 3, in their own ways, starting to follow in grandma's footsteps. I'm hoping in this hour, we get to really focus on any policy differences and what we can use this office for, just like what you spoke about. It is not my job to be friend or foe with the mayor, but it is a job to speak up when it's needed.
Is there one thing you do agree with him on?
So I'll be honest, I think he's actually been okay with the rats. And a few years ago, we stood together on a plan of how to address gun violence. I was part of that. Unfortunately, he has not executed in that.
And a quick yes or no to both of you here, okay? This is a simple yes or no. Ms. Rajkumar, did you vote for Mayor Adams in 2021?
Yes.
Mr. Williams, did you vote for Mayor Adams in 2021?
My biggest regret was on my rank sheet.
Was it yes or no?
He was on my rank sheet.
Okay. So I want to get back to what we reported, and that is a staffer within Mr. Williams' office claims that she was drugged and assaulted by 2 members of Mr. Williams' NYPD security detail. That is under internal NYPD review. The staffer claims this is in retaliation for her filing a human resources complaint against the public advocate's chief of staff, alleging a toxic work environment. Since then, Mr. Williams' chief of staff has been on paid leave for 5 months. None of this was known to the public until yesterday. Mr. Williams, coming to you now, why are we just hearing that your chief of staff has been on paid leave for months? You have 60 seconds here.
Well, one, I want you to know that we take workplace and environment very, very seriously. We want everyone to be in a place that they feel safe. And we take this accusation very seriously. And when you hear something like this, you need to do 2 things. Take it very seriously and act immediately. And that's what we did. When we heard the accusations, anyone who was accused was put on leave. And we went to appropriate agencies, like the DOI. We alerted the NYPD. We started our own investigation. Then said, you know what, let's hire an outside investigation. When you have HR complaints, it's very hard to talk publicly about what's going on. And as you know, the complainant has begun to do so. We, to this point, haven't found any substantiation, but the investigations aren't complete. Not just my investigation, but also the IAB investigation, the CCRB investigation. I believe that's because there was some difficulties getting in touch with some of the people who were there. It was a very crowded space, and that included the complainant as well. But now I'm hoping it's on the way and we can get this resolved really quickly.
Mr. Williams, you have 30 seconds to address the allegations of the toxic work environment in your office.
Well, the complaint itself was the first time that complainant had raised an issue like that. I will say, and I'm proud of the discussions that we were having before that about how we can actually communicate without being harmful. And we had some trainings, and we can continue to do that. Unfortunately, this complaint was so egregious. It was very alarming. I took a second and said, hey, wait a minute, we've got to take this as seriously as possible, and we took immediate steps to address it.
And Mr. Williams, 15 seconds here. How long do you anticipate this investigation to be?
Well, I want us to have a complete investigation, not a rushed one. I actually thought this would be completed in March, but again, from our side, there was difficulties getting in touch with some folks. I can't tell you about the IAB and the CCRB investigation because those are completely separate.
Ms. Rajkumar, 30 seconds to you since you brought this up.
A woman was drugged and assaulted in your office, and she says that you covered it up. I think you need to think about resigning, and I think that you need to address to New Yorkers tonight the question of, are you going to resign?
Well, I want to be clear that there's an investigation happening right now, at least on 3 fronts, and we haven't found any substantive evidence about that. As far as a cover-up, I'm not sure how you can cover up something that you brought to the DOI.
Well, I'll tell you how.
Ms. Rajkumar, you get 15 seconds here after he's done.
That you opened a separate investigation, and as an HR matter, you're very limited in what you can speak about, both to protect everyone involved.
Mr. Williams, thank you. Ms. Rajkumar, 15 seconds here.
This happened when everyone knew you were trying to become the acting mayor. So it makes perfect sense that you would cover this up. And that's what is alleged, that you tried to cover this up because you wanted to be mayor. A woman was in pain. A woman was assaulted in your office. And you covered it up because you put your own political ambitions above her. And that is not acceptable.
Ms. Rajkumar, thank you.
Wait,
Mr. Williams, you get 15 more seconds, and then we're going to move on.
Absolutely. Listen, I want everyone to get the assistance they need. This is a very concerning allegation. The allegation is not toward me at all. I would say that everyone knows me, knows I was not trying to become mayor. You can't cover something up that you brought all to the appropriate agencies. And quite frankly, using an HR
Mr.
complaint
Williams.
is very concerning because it's a private.
Mr. Williams, thank you. And because these are ongoing investigations, Pix 11 is going to stay on top of this story and bring you any further updates as they develop. But we are going to move on to other topics now, and Henry has the next question.
Let's move ahead to the mayoral line of succession, and good evening to both of you. For the first time in modern city history, the mayoral line of succession nearly came into play due to the federal corruption charges brought against Mayor Adams. But the case has now been closed, and the mayor appears to be serving out the remainder of his term. Mr. Williams, you stopped just short of calling on the mayor to resign or be removed by the governor because you were, in fact, next of line, and that could have created a conflict of interest. But as we ask you now, should the mayor have been removed or should he have resigned? 60 seconds, sir.
Now, I want to be clear, just in like the last topic and even this topic, you need a public advocate who's going to be transparent, who's going to bold, and who's going to be fierce and speak out. And that's what I did when the mayor, unfortunately, got into the waters that he did. I'm also very responsible, so I was careful with my words. I said then, and I actually will say now, I believe that if the mayor cared about New York City the way he cared about himself, that he would have made a different decision. That didn't happen. I believe that the quicker we can move from the Adams administration, the better off for New York City. This is a job where you have to make tough decisions. And if you cannot right now say that the mayor, unfortunately, is more of Trump's deputy president than the mayor for the city of New York, this may not be the job for you because people need you to speak up at times when they are concerned, even against powerful interests.
I hear you stopping, and we're coming to you next, I promise. I hear you still stopping just short. Should he resign now or be removed right now by the governor?
Again, I'm always going to be responsible with my words. I think the quickest we can get out of the Adams administration, it's the best for everyone. I wish he had made decisions. But again, being in a line of succession, you should be responsible with your words and continue to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Rajkumar, you did not call on the mayor to step aside, but the federal judge who dismissed this case said the deal smacks of a, quote, bargain, where the mayor traded helping the Trump administration with mass deportation in exchange for the dropping of his charges. The mayor, of course, denies this claim. Do you believe Mayor Adams was involved in a quid pro quo? 60 seconds.
That's a factual determination, and I don't know the facts. What I do know is that I'm Jenifer Rajkumar, and I'm running for public advocate to fix a city in crisis. And that's my focus. And the reason I have been everywhere in this city for the past 3 years is because I care so much about the issues. I care about affordable housing in the Bronx. I care about public safety on 14th Street. And that's why everyone knows me as the lady in red who is everywhere in this city. And I have to say, I am very shocked that the incumbent public advocate used $40,000 of taxpayer money to launch a sham investigation on this alleged attack. I mean, a woman was assaulted in the office, and all he can do is launch a sham investigation. I mean, the people of New York deserve more than that. And that is why I'm running for this position.
Mr. Williams, you have up to 30 seconds to respond, sir.
You just can't make things up. So
that's the truth.
I don't even understand where that $40,000 number came from. So I can
just
say that. It's just,
Ms. Rajkumar, let him finish, please.
You know, I haven't interrupted the Assemblymember at all, and I will not. I'm going to try to keep this around policy. We shouldn't be able to make up facts. But I do want to say that while they're deporting citizens, while the mayor is allowing ICE to be in our system, in our city, deporting citizens and people who are here legally, it is clear that that was either a quid pro quo, like the judge said, like the attorneys who resigned in the Department of Justice, or he believes in these policies. Either way, someone who is public advocate has to call that out.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Rajkumar, 15 seconds, and I will re-ask the question. Was the mayor involved in a quid pro quo? You still have not directly answered that.
I believe that Jumaane Williams sleeps until noon, and then writes a press release attacking the mayor. That is not enough. The people of New York City deserve more than that. They deserve someone that's going to focus on the issues, that someone who's going to deliver results. And that is why I'm here, running for public
advocate. Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. I will come to you because of her comment. 15 seconds, and then I have to give it back to Dan.
I just got to say, when you don't have a vision or know what the office does, you hear a lot of things.
Excuse
and
me?
So when you
Excuse
hear,
me?
Ms. Rajkumar, please let him finish.
When you hear the kind of, and see the kind of racial stereotypes that were put out in this race, it's been some of the most distasteful stuff I've seen. I will say that it mimics really what the mayor's charges have been, so I'm not surprised to see that.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We're gonna come to that topic. Dan has the next question.
Candidates in this campaign, Ms. Rajkumar, you've used a cartoon image on social media as part of your campaign strategy. One of them is a cartoon of Mr. Williams sleeping alongside an X post he made that said, quote, "Man, that last batch of edibles took me somewhere else," end quote. Now, this cartoon has been criticized by some elected officials and political operatives. Ms. Rajkumar, can you explain this cartoon? You have 60 seconds.
These cartoons really illustrate to New Yorkers the truth in this race, which is that Jumaane Williams sleeps until noon. He doesn't do the job. He's the public absentee, not the public advocate, whereas I work 24/7. We are a city in crisis. We have an affordability crisis. We have a public safety crisis, a mental health crisis. We need someone that actually does the job. And that's what the cartoons show. And I have to say that New Yorkers have told me that they love these cartoons. People set their alarms because they want to know when the next one is coming out. So thank you for asking this question. I think this was a great way to get voters engaged and to let them know the difference between us.
Mr. Williams, do you have a comment on the image? You have 60 seconds here.
Yeah, one, naps are pretty healthy, so I don't know why we're going after naps. But two, when you have the New York Post defending Jumaane Williams, you've probably gone too far. So those cartoons, a lot of people have described them as really racial stereotypical. And I really would hope that we can focus on the policy differences that we have and how best to use this office. You know, what I hate the most is that there's an insult toward the absenteeism to the civil servants, to the people who work in my office day in and day out, who've answered over 10,000 calls and cases to assist New Yorkers, to the unions who have fought for hybrid work. To attack those unions, to attack civil servants, to attack workers, I just don't understand it. By the way, I have a toddler. I wish I could sleep till noon.
Mr. Williams, thank you. 15 seconds to you, Ms. Rajkumar.
I think it's very humorous that you are standing here beside a woman of color, the first Indian American woman ever elected to a state office, and saying that those cartoons had a racial undertone. I think that that's masking the fact that you're not doing the job. We're a city in crisis. What are you doing for homelessness? What are you doing for mental health? What are you doing for public safety?
Ms. Rajkumar,
besides
thank you very much.
defund the police?
Thank you. Mr. Williams, 15 seconds here.
I've never said the words defund the police, and I'm hoping that with these
record.
questions, we can talk about what it is I actually do. I want to just also say I'm proud to be the first Grenadian American, the first person with Tourette's syndrome elected in this country that is known. I'm very proud of those things, but identity itself does not help New Yorkers. And so you talk about what have you accomplished.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
That's correct. What have you accomplished?
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. We're going to stay with you, Mr. Williams. You chose to seek re-election to this office instead of running for mayor. So the question is, why? You have 30 seconds.
You know, I really wake up thinking about my kids, your kids, New Yorkers, our families, how best I can use the skill sets I have to make New York City better. There's been many opportunities to run for mayor. I said when I ran for public advocate that wasn't the job I sought. Too many people make decisions about what they're going to do is best for them. Are they going to run for, say, comptroller and then switch to public advocate? Are they going to run to make their careers better? Or are they going to run for New Yorkers? And I decided that being public advocate is important right now when people are concerned about Donald Trump. They're concerned about Eric Adams.
Thank you,
They're
Mr.
concerned
Williams.
about possible Andrew Cuomo.
And if you
they need
are
an independent person to stand
Thank
up.
you, Mr. Williams. If you are re-elected, you will be term limited. So would you run for mayor in 2029? You have 15 seconds.
You know, I'm always honest when I'm thinking about running. Last time I was running, thinking about running for lieutenant governor. Right now, I'm not thinking about running for mayor at all. It's not a job that I've sought. If, as public advocate, it happened, we were ready and able to do the job. I'm really focused on being a public advocate. The next 4 years, people are really worried. They
Thank
want
you.
a public advocate that can stand up.
Thank you,
not
Mr.
stand by.
Williams. Ms. Rajkumar, you were first running for City Comptroller, calling it your dream job. Then just a few months later, you left that race, joined the public advocate race, telling us that you weren't dropping out, but you were stepping up. So the question is, what changed, and why should someone believe that this is the job that you actually want? 30 seconds to you.
What changed was that in November, the Democrats lost. And we didn't just lose, we lost big. So I had to step up and make sure that I solve the problem of our party. And the problem is right here. It's people who just are extremists, who are performative, and who don't actually get results for working people. And so that's why I decided to step up to a bigger position, which would allow me to address the crisis facing our city and to fix the extremism and the incompetence in our party.
15 seconds to you, Mr. Williams.
I mean, you have these platitudes. I'd like to know what they mean. Like, it is not extreme to believe everyone should be safe in this city. It is not extreme to believe that everyone should be housed in the city. It's not extreme to believe that citizens and legal immigrants and even people who are undocumented should be ripped out of our streets. That is not extreme.
Thank you. Ms. Rajkumar, I'm coming to you next with a quick follow-up here. If you win, would you run for mayor in 2029? You also have 15 seconds.
No, I just want to be the best public advocate that our city has ever seen. And I will be the fourth woman ever elected to a citywide office in the history of our city. And I will be proud to be that public advocate.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. And Henry has the next question.
Let's talk about the issue of rent-stabilized housing, shall we? The Rent Guidelines Board is about to vote on if there should be a rent increase for the 1 million units of stabilized housing. Ms. Rajkumar, where do you stand on a possible rent freeze and any ripple effects that might have on landlords? 60 seconds.
There must be a rent freeze because we are in an affordability crisis right now. It takes 10 years to build new housing. This is unacceptable. People have vouchers, and those vouchers are unused, sitting in a drawer. What good is a voucher in a drawer? So that's why I'm running for public advocate, to cut through this red tape, to make sure that everybody can get housing. But at this point in time, with this affordability crisis, we need a rent freeze, and we also need to help our small landlords by helping them repair their units, giving them tax breaks, and we can do something that will help all of them, and that's what I'm committed to do.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. Mr. Williams, where do you stand on a rent freeze and the possible ripple effects that might have on landlords? 60 seconds.
You know, the folks that are listening at home right now, their number one concern is affordability. Their number one concern is, why am I in a city that has the largest rental market in the entire nation? That doesn't make sense. I've been working on housing for a very long time as an organizer, even before I became a city council member. I really wish the party I belong to had listened to many of the things that we talked about before we came in this crisis. We cannot fix any housing stock on the backs of tenants. We have had the largest tenant rent increases in the past 30 years on Eric Adams' Rent Guidelines Board. That is a problem. When people are struggling, they go to tenants. Where do tenants go? We've seen rents gone up. The housing stock hasn't gotten better. I do believe and know that there are landlords out there that have some issues. They need assistance. My hope, and what I've been advocating for as public advocate, is that the government provide the assistance to those landlords. But you cannot do blanket increases to tenants because they are suffering and you just increase homelessness. So yes, we need a rent freeze. And I'm hoping the Rent Guidelines Board doesn't do what it always do, since I've been going there for about 20 years, point fingers and say that there's nothing that we can do.
Ms. Rajkumar, 15 seconds, and then we're going to move on.
I would like to say this is a bad landlord standing right here. He's a slumlord who has pushed his own tenants out. He hasn't paid his mortgage in 10 years, and he acts like a tenant champion, but that is not the truth. I have litigated cases on behalf of 4,000 tenants and secured habitability for them.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. Mr. Williams, of course, I'm letting you respond.
Yeah, I've never pushed tenants out. I don't, like, there's so much here. I will say this.
It's documented.
It is not documented. But let me just say, I'm not even sure that the Assembly member knows what the public advocate does. So I want to put this out there. There are 5 charter mandated
I know what it
duties.
does.
Ms.
There are
Rajkumar, please let
5
him
charter
speak.
mandated duties of the public advocate. I would love for the Assembly member to tell New York what they are.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We're going to move on. We're going to keep talking about all of this. Dan has the next question.
Let's talk about the City of Yes candidates. It's a sweeping plan passed by the mayor and the city council to rezone the city to allow 80,000 units of housing to be built across many neighborhoods. But there was pushback, especially concerns about too much density straining neighborhoods and that this would be a giveaway to developers. Mr. Williams, coming to you first here, how will you ensure that these units are in fact created and affordable enough for working New Yorkers? You have 60 seconds.
You know, it's interesting that New Yorkers understand how bad the housing crisis is and that we need units, but everybody's worried about building up near them. And it shows the difficulties of having this conversation. I think the mayor was right to be pushing this. I want to shout out the Speaker, Adrian Adams, and the Italian Council for making this even better. It won't impact communities the way they think it will, but we will get some extra units. As I wrote in my op-ed right after it passed, it is not the end. It is but a tool. There is so much more units that we need, and no housing plan is real unless it includes 60% of preservation. That means preserving Section 8, preserving NYCHA, preserving Mitchell-Lama, preserving rent regulation. And then you have to build. You also have to make sure you build, if you're asking people to give up density, at an affordability rate that they can afford. Something's affordable for everyone. And we want to make sure the lowest income have the most, the assistance they need. As public advocate, we will continue to print the worst world landlord list, to hold landlords accountable. We will continue to push to make sure that these units are not only built, but they're built in a way for the people who need the most assistance.
Mr. Williams, thank you. Ms. Rajkumar, same question to you. How will you ensure that housing is in fact created and affordable enough for working New Yorkers?
Well, first of all, I must say that it's incredibly misogynistic and condescending for him to say that I don't know what the job is. But that definitely fits a pattern, considering that he was anti-choice for most of his life. And now we have these allegations of assault in his office. But getting back to the question, I believe that we need to speed up housing production in this city. We need to speed up the approval process for affordable housing. It cannot take 10 years to build new housing. And when it comes to vouchers, they cannot just be lying there. People don't know how to get the vouchers they need. It takes a year to get a voucher. And then when people have a voucher, they give it to a landlord, the landlord rejects it. So these are all bureaucratic hurdles that I, with my legal background, with my passion, with my legislative background, I can fix these.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. Mr. Williams, 15 seconds here to respond.
Yes. I just want New Yorkers to know that whatever's levied at me, I'm going to try to make sure we focus on what is best for New York. I will remind New Yorkers that I just said that there are 5 charter-mandated duties. At the end of my closing, I will say who they are, what they are. I really hope the Assembly member can do that before I do.
Ms. Rajkumar, we're going to move on to the next topic here.
Can I respond to that?
We're going to move on to the next topic.
Because you haven't used all those powers at all.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar.
Can you tell us what they are?
We're going to move on to the next topic.
Have you litigated any
Candidates.
cases?
Yes,
Candidates, we're
How
going to
many?
move on
One?
to the next.
No.
One?
Nobody can
More
hear
than
you
one.
talk right now because you're talking over each other.
But please tell us what the 5 charter-mandated
We're going to move on
duties
to
are.
the next
Have
topic.
you litigated any
That's
lawsuits? I'm
Candidates.
going to turn this office into a
We
legal
are going
powerhouse.
to move
What
on
have
to
you
the
done?
next topic right now, and we can continue this conversation. Use your time as you will. But let's move on to the next question, which is President Trump has clearly set his sights on New York City. He has clawed back more than $180 million meant to pay for the migrant crisis, challenged congestion pricing, and pressing to put ICE agents back on Rikers Island, though a judge just blocked that move, to name some specific examples. Ms. Rajkumar, how do you view the role of public advocate in pushing back against President Trump? You have 60 seconds.
A woman like me is Trump's worst nightmare. Smart, brown, and relentless. And I used to direct immigration for the state of New York, where I pushed back against Trump's discriminatory immigration agenda during the first Trump era. And just now on Monday, he's going to again bar people from entering our country from certain nations. So I know what it's like to push back against Trump. I've done it. I've done it successfully on behalf of our state. But you know who can't stand up to Trump? Jumaane Williams, because he shares Trump's values. He's been anti-choice, he's been anti-LGBT, and if you share Trump's values, you cannot fight Trump, you cannot stand up for New York City.
Okay, Mr. Williams, coming to you next. You can use your time as you will to respond. How do you view the role of public advocate in pushing back against President Trump? You have 60 seconds here.
I am amazed, and I want voters to try to wrap around their head that the Assemblyman says that I share Trump's values. And so let's just be clear about that. You can look at my history in the past 15 years. Actually, I'm a proud ally to the LGBTQ community. I've received almost all the endorsements of endorsing entities. I'm proud to receive the endorsement of Planned Parenthood. What people know about me is that I stand up. I show courage, even when I'm afraid. And that's important, because a lot of New Yorkers are afraid right now. And we have to let them know that we have the courage to push through this. So not only have I always stood up to the horrible things that the Trump administration is trying to do, I'm standing up to his deputies like Eric Adams who are allowing him to do it. And that's what a public advocate has to do. They have to advocate for the people of the city of New York and use all of the tools in those 5 charter mandated duties and powers to fight for New Yorkers. I will continue to do that.
Mr. Williams, thank you. In the interest of the topics we have to get to, we're going to move on to the next question, and Henry has that.
Because we are, in fact, halfway home, if you can believe it. Many U.S. companies have been doing away with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs during the last 2 years. Mr. Williams, we're beginning with you this time. Should New York City remain committed to supporting DEI policies? 60 seconds.
You know, that's an easy one. As a first-generation American, as a black man, as a person with Tourette syndrome, ADHD, I believe I'm the type of person that Donald Trump and many of his allies try to push out of this country. I don't understand why we or they believe that diversity and equity are bad words. They're not. They're not when it comes to money. So why would it be when it comes to people of the city of New York? Not only should we keep it, we should be pushing it further. It shows that everyone gets strengthened by diversity. Everyone does better by diversity. But what I do want to make sure is that we learn a lesson, because I'm going to be honest to voters, some of us drank some of the orange Kool-Aid that was being sold. And what I'm hoping people learn today is that all of us will get through this together. Muslim, Jewish, black, white, LGBTQ, our trans siblings, all of us have to get through this together. When the Brazilians elected their authoritarian, they said something that stands with me, which is no one let go of anyone's hands. And that's what we have to do.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Rajkumar, should New York City remain committed to its DEI policies? You also have 60 seconds.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to tell you that companies that adopt DEI actually perform better and make more money. This is a policy that is not just right, but it works. And I am someone who is a champion of exclusion. I made Diwali a school holiday in the city of New York. And every year I launch a 5-borough Ramadan iftar tour. I love all the cultures of this city. That is who we are. And I have to say that he says all of these things, but he has not stood up for our Jewish brothers and sisters. I think it is very important to also stand up for anti-Semitism, because they are part of the gorgeous mosaic that is New York City.
Mr. Williams, up to 30 seconds to respond, sir.
Oh, yes. I stand up for our Jewish brothers and sisters. I stand up against anti-Semitism. I try to stand up for all New Yorkers, so I'm going to say something that I know the Assembly member can't. On October 7th, I made sure I joined the leaders to say what occurred there was horrible and condemned it and screamed to bring our hostages home. But what I could not get the Assembly member and others to say is that what is happening in Gaza needs to stop, that we need a ceasefire, that we have to talk about the pain that is happening to so many New Yorkers, from Israel to Palestine and their families. If you cannot lift up the pain of all New Yorkers without getting them to divide each other, this may not be the job for you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Rajkumar, we're going to stay with this topic. I'm going to hand it over to Dan, but we're staying with it.
Candidates, we are 5 days removed now from the terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, where a man yelled "Free Palestine" while using incendiary devices to burn people at an event meant to raise awareness of Jewish hostages still being held by Hamas. Meanwhile, here at home, we continue to see anti-Semitism on our own streets. NYPD data says 60% of bias crimes in the city in the first quarter of the year targeted Jewish people. So, Ms. Rajkumar, what does the city need to do differently to combat anti-Semitism? You have 60 seconds.
Anti-Semitism is on the rise. It is alarming. And I condemn these attacks in Boulder, Colorado immediately, whereas the public advocate couldn't even admit that it was anti-Semitism. You need to call it out for what it is. But I believe the public advocate must be the leader in ending anti-Semitism in this city. And that's what I will do. I am deeply committed to this. I am proud that the Jerusalem Post recognized my efforts to combat anti-Semitism all around this city. And on campuses, we need to make sure that Jewish students feel safe. And we need to inspire our kids to think about, how do you make peace in the world? How do you get beyond protesting? How do you make peace in the world? And as a former CUNY professor, that is very important to me. And that's what we need to focus on. That's what we need to encourage.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. Mr. Williams, I'll give you time to respond in the question, right? What does the city need to do differently to combat anti-Semitism? You have 60 seconds here.
Anti-Semitism is on the rise. You should not be concerned about wearing a yarmulke. You just shouldn't. I can't imagine the community after the Boulder, Colorado attack that was anti-Semitism. I can't imagine seeing a couple going to an Israeli consulate event being murdered right before they get engaged. You have to be able to speak up against that kind of hate. When I go to synagogues, they are concerned and afraid, and rightfully so. It is important that I harp on this because when I go to mosques, they are also hurting and in pain. And the fact that the assembly member can't say anything about what's happening in Gaza is problematic to me, only because we have to go beyond politics. New York City is in pain and they want leaders to speak for them. So I try to speak as one humanity. We have to bring those hostages home. I can't imagine what those families are going through. And we have to stop what's happening to Gaza today.
Mr. Williams, thank you. 15 seconds to you, Ms. Rajkumar.
Yes, I do speak for all of humanity. I am a regular in mosques all across the city. I have a 5-borough Ramadan iftar tour that I do every year. And I have advocated for the Azan call to prayer to be able to be broadcast without a sound permit. I've advocated for halal food options to be expanded into
Thank you very much. We're going to leave it there.
I need to be clear.
You get 15 seconds here, and then we're going to move on.
I would say if I have done and just rattle off all the things I've done for my Jewish and brothers and sisters, but I did not say that you have to bring the hostages home, and I did not condemn what happened on October 7th and what's happening in Colorado, they would be right to ask me to speak up. And the same thing is true for our Palestinian brothers and sisters, for our Muslim brothers and sisters, and what's happening in Gaza.
Mr. Williams, thank you. Candidates, we're going to move on to our next question now. We're going to go to one of our debate partners, Juliet Papa from 1010 Wins.
The NYPD headcount has been in decline since 2018. According to city data, it's currently at its lowest level since the early 90s, with about 33,500 officers in uniform. Meanwhile, the budgeted headcount is a little more than 35,000 officers. The question for you, should the city's priority be to fill those nearly 1,500 open positions?
And our thank you to Juliet Papa. Mr. Williams, we're going to start with you here, but first we'd like to get a simple yes or no on this. Should the city prioritize filling the nearly 1,500 open positions? Yes or no?
Of course.
So since you said yes, how do you plan to do that? You have 60 seconds here.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're clear that public safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone in the city agrees with that. Crime is an issue that we need to address. Everyone agrees that our law enforcement cannot do it alone. But these positions have been open for a long time, and we need to fill them. We need to make sure that our law enforcement understands that we are going to support them by not asking them to do the job of so many people. The number one reason that people are leaving now is because of the forced overtime. It's because of even when we deal with overtime, their salary changes. Those are things that we can address to try to deal with the morale issue, to try to make sure that officers who say they do not want to be responding to mental health crisis, officers who say that we cannot solve the homeless crisis, but keep needing to, don't have to say that anymore. That they can see their families because we have adequately staffed and resourced the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene and the organizations who are out there every single day standing before the violence even happens. We need to have a structure that is not solely supported by
Mr. Williams, thank you very much. Ms. Rajkumar, again, it's simple yes or no here. Should the city prioritize filling the more than 1,500 open positions?
Yes.
So since you said yes, how do you plan to do that is the question. 60 seconds to you.
Well, I think one reason that people don't want to join the police force is because there's so much vitriol directed at them. And unfortunately, the public advocate has been part of that, calling for defund the police. It's on record. I'm proud to be endorsed by the PBA in this race and be a supporter of law enforcement. I think legislatively, we have to mandate that agencies fill spots, and we have to give them benchmarks. You have to fill this many people by this month, because right now there's too many vacancies in city government. So that is one thing that I will do as public advocate. I will introduce this legislation, and I always work closely with law enforcement on the ground. Everybody knows that, to make sure that they're working collaboratively with communities and we're keeping our city safe.
Ms. Rajkumar, thank you. Mr. Williams, a follow-up to you. You could use the time here. How do you make becoming an NYPD officer more attractive? And does that include a raise? You have 30 seconds.
Just, having passed more legislation than every public advocate combined, I want to be clear there's certain legislation that you can't do because we can't directly tell the NYPD what to do. I also want to be clear, because it's been said a few times, I thought defund the police was a bad slogan then. I think it's a bad slogan now. I defy whoever's listening to please post where I have said defund the police. I did say, and continue to say what New Yorkers say, that law enforcement are partners, but they cannot do it alone. And the one thing that I think we can do to attract people who want to be the best
Thank
they
you.
can be.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
stop
Williams.
asking them to be.
Excuse me,
You'll come to you, Mr. Rajkumar. Just a quick follow-up here, Mr. Williams. The question was, should they include a raise? Is it a yes or no here?
I believe they had one of the best contracts that we've had in several years.
So no raise?
I want to say I am always looking at how we can increase the salary of all our city workers.
Okay.
So I would not be opposed, depending what's going on.
Thank you. Ms. Rajkumar, same question to you. How do you make becoming an NYPD officer more attractive, and does that include a raise? 30 seconds to you.
Yes, I think a fair raise. Right now, there's $1 billion in overtime, and everyone knows that it's a bloated budget. So as public advocate, I'll keep an eye on that. But yes, a raise is one tool that we could use to attract more people to NYPD. And then we need our elected officials to be more respectful of law enforcement, of the people who keep us safe. Because Jumaane Williams actually lives in an army fort. He has 24/7 security. So it's not right for him to say that police should be defunded and regular New Yorkers should not have that same protection.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next topic, and we're going to move. We have a lot more topics to
I got
get
it,
to.
but that's been something that's out there for a while.
Mr. Williams, we're going to move on to the next topic here. Henry has that.
Okay.
Our next question comes from one of our partners, El Diario, and here is Edwin Martinez.
Earlier this month, a federal judge appointed a remediation manager to focus on achieving reforms at Rikers Island. Which reforms should the remediation manager prioritize?
And we thank Edwin for that. Ms. Rajkumar, we are going to you first here. Which reform should the newly appointed remediation manager prioritize? Up to 60 seconds.
So many people in Rikers have mental health issues. We need to get them into treatment. We need to break the school to prison pipeline. And I'm so committed to that. I care so deeply about the youth of this city. But also, we need to go back to the drawing board because closing Rikers makes no sense. Putting 5 borough-based jails that nobody wants, that are over budget, does not make any sense. We need to address the root problems that are driving criminal justice, that are causing people to be imprisoned. 1 in 3 black men will be imprisoned in their lifetime. That is unacceptable. And as public advocate, I will be committed to ending this injustice.
Quick yes or no, since you said it. Should Rikers close, yes or no?
No.
Mr. Williams, same question that Edwin asked. Which reform should the remediation manager prioritize? 60 seconds.
You know, right now, this is one of the places that we are using our legal powers with an amicus brief with the City Council. Not only that we've been pushing for this remediation with legislation of mine, we also the amicus brief to prevent ICE from coming there. I believe, like was said, there are so many people who have mental health issues that should not be on that island. But quite frankly, no one is safe right now. The corrections officers and the staff, definitely not the detainees. Now, this administration did not cause this problem. They definitely didn't fix it. And so they didn't have a plan to make it safer. So I'm glad there's someone hopefully coming in that does, and we have to watch them carefully and make sure it's not just a single person, but a group of folks. I do want to say that closing Rikers Island is the law, and I'm hoping the Assemblyman is not saying right now that she will not follow the law, because the law is that Rikers Island has to close. What we want to make sure is that we don't take the culture that is there and been a stain on this city and bring it to the 5 borough-based jail.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dan has the next question.
Candidates, Albany lawmakers just made changes designed to stop an increasing number of cases from being thrown out due to technicalities. Here's Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg explaining why he fully supports this change.
On one of my cases, because we found an additional photo of your injuries, more proof of the crime, your case is dismissed. That wouldn't be true in any other state in this country, and now it's not true in New York.
Mr. Williams, you said in an op-ed in City and State, quote, concerns about unwarranted dismissals may be reasonable, but the governor's changes are not, end quote. So why did you oppose these changes? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I think people are really concerned about their safety, and when that happens, people sometimes throw things out there that make people feel like they will be safe, even if they won't. I want people to be safe and feel safe. I will say the operative word there was proposed changes, though many of those proposed changes did not make it into the final bill. I do think what made it into the final bill was reasonable to make sure that we concretized what judges already had, and that was some discretion to make sure the type of things that the DA mentioned was not something that dismissed cases. And so we agreed there, and so I'm happy that that tweak was made so that judges now understand, or at least it's clarified for them. I'm not sure why they weren't using it before, but what was proposed is not what actually happened.
Mr. Williams, thank you. And Ms. Rajkumar, you, of course, are a state assemblywoman. You voted for the budget this year, which included discovery reform. Why was that the right move? You have 60 seconds.
I believe we can have civil rights and public safety at the same time. And as a civil rights lawyer, I'm deeply committed to that. I agree with DA Alvin Bragg that we needed to make some common sense changes to discovery to allow prosecutors to do their job. And that is what we did in Albany. And I think that that's going to bring common sense back to our criminal justice system.
Ms. Rajkumar, thank you. I want to move on to the next topic. New York State just made it easier to pull people off the streets and subways and involuntarily commit them to hospitals if they cannot take care of themselves. Mayor Adams has been championing these changes, and according to our most recent poll, New York City residents resoundingly support this. So, Ms. Rajkumar, was this, in fact, the correct move? You have 60 seconds.
I believe this was well-intentioned. I think that if someone cannot take care of themselves and they're suffering, if that was a family member, we would all want them to have care. And that's what this is about. But it's not enough. That's why I introduced the Empire State of Mind Act in Albany, the most comprehensive mental health bill in 60 years, to transform our mental health system, to make sure that everyone on the street who needs mental health treatment can get off the street and into treatment. Everyone who leaves a hospital should have a treatment plan. Everyone who goes into Rikers should have a screening for mental illness. As a city, we need to be responsible. We need to fund organizations like Fountain House that are creating a community for people who are mentally ill to reintegrate into society and to empower themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Rajkumar. Mr. Williams, same question. Is the state's policy to make it easier to remove people off the streets and subways the correct move? 60 seconds here.
You know, when my 17-year-old, shout out to Omni Claremont, takes the subway almost daily, like any other parent, I'm concerned about her. I'm concerned about some of the stories that she tells me. I'm concerned about people with mental health not getting the mental health issues, not getting the continuum of care that they need. And to that survey, I believe what people were saying is do something. And you have to be careful when people say do something, because sometimes you might make things worse. What New Yorkers may not know is that just last year, over 8,000 New Yorkers were involuntarily committed to the hospitals. We don't have all the data on those that were involuntarily committed, particularly those that were led by NYPD. We do have some for clinician-led. So it's not that we don't have that tool, and it's not that that tool is not needed. The biggest concern is the continuum of care that happens after you leave the hospital. Because if you put someone in the hospital for 3 days or 3 months, if they leave and not get the continuum of care, you're going to have the same problem. So yes, you need that tool, but more importantly, we have to make sure that New Yorkers are connected to the continuum of care that they need so that they can deal with the health crisis that they have and not receive a criminal response.
Mr. Williams, thank you very much. Henry has the next question.
We've talked a lot about the public advocate's relationship to the mayor. Well, the leading candidate in every poll in the race for mayor is former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Mr. Williams, you called for him to resign as governor and were a critic of his long before that. Ms. Rajkumar, you did not call on Mr. Cuomo to resign at the time, but said you were deeply troubled back then. Mr. Williams, we're going to begin with you this time. Do you have any current reservations about Mr. Cuomo potentially becoming mayor? 60 seconds.
I mean, I need an hour to talk about the reservations I have with Andrew Cuomo. I am not sure which is worse for New York City, a Cuomo mayoralty or an Adams mayoralty. I was on the dream team early. Don't rank Eric or Andrew for mayor. And I want to be clear to the viewers who are looking and listening, who are concerned about a whole host of issues, from congestion pricing to bail reform to mental health beds to rent reform. Whatever position you have had, Andrew Cuomo has had it. It only depended what was politically convenient for him at that moment in time. And that's been the problem with our electoral system. People say whatever they think is needed to get elected, but they're not really trying to help those that need the most help. I am concerned very much about an Andrew Cuomo mayoralty. And I know that people in the city are worried about making sure they have a public advocate who's going to stand up for them against powerful leaders when that time comes. I have proven that I will do that even when it's difficult.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Rajkumar, same question. Any reservations about Mr. Cuomo potentially becoming mayor? 60 seconds.
This is not about Andrew Cuomo. This is not about Eric Adams. This is about taking our city into the future. And that's what I can do. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I'm the first Indian American woman ever elected to a New York State office. I've passed impossible legislation for the people of New York. And that's what we need a public advocate to do. I'm going to turn this office into a legal powerhouse. If there are bureaucratic failures, I'm going to fix them. I'm going to fix them through collaborating with the mayor or through litigation if I have to. And this public advocate has not done that. He sleeps until noon. He's the public absentee. He's not the public advocate. We need someone that's committed to the job, who doesn't run a remote office 3 years after COVID. That is not acceptable. And New Yorkers, we can do better.
Ms. Rajkumar, to follow up, you did not name one specific concern. You have no specific concerns about Mr. Cuomo at all, up to 15 seconds.
My concerns are the mental health crisis, the public safety crisis, the affordability crisis. This is what I'm going to focus on every single day. I would work with Cuomo or I would oppose Cuomo. I would do whatever is necessary for the people of New York to get traction on these issues, to get them results. That's what I have done my entire career.
Thank you, Ms. Rajkumar. Dan?
Yes,
Mr. Williams, we're actually going to stay on this topic of mayoral race, okay? So, Mr. Williams, you put out a slate of endorsed mayoral candidates to be ranked, something you did not do in 2021. Ms. Rajkumar...
I did, actually.
Ms. Rajkumar, you have not made any mayoral endorsements at this time. So, Ms. Rajkumar, do you plan to put out a slate of endorsed mayoral candidates to be ranked? You have 30 seconds.
Right now, no. If that changes, you'll be the first to know, Dan. But right now, I'm focused on my vision for the city. New Yorkers need results. New Yorkers need a fresh, strong voice. And that's what I bring. I'm going to clamp down on illegal smoke shops. I led the charge to shut them down. I'm now leading the charge to regulate reckless e-bikes that are hitting people on the street. I'm focused on these issues. The rest is just politics and noise.
So not putting out a slate. Okay, Ms. Rajkumar, thank you. Was it one endorsement in 2021 or a slate, Mr. Williams?
I put out my main endorsement, number one, Mayoral, and I put out the rest of the
Okay, so let me ask you this. Why did you put out a slate of endorsed mayoral candidates, especially when your role naturally comes into conflict with the mayor? You have 30 seconds.
You know, I believe it's important to lead. It is difficult to understand ranked choice voting. It is difficult to rank because there's so many folks. And we decided both times that people should see me lead even when it's difficult. And unfortunately, one of my biggest regrets is putting Eric Adams on that list. But what it did allow folks to see that even if there's someone there that I think should be mayor, I will not hesitate on behalf of New Yorkers to stand up when it's necessary. So I guess that might be the only silver lining there.
Mr. Williams, thank you. We're going to move on, candidates, to more personalized questions. And Mr. Williams, I'm going to start with you here. Just last month, you had a two-family home foreclosed upon after, according to court documents, you racked up nearly $1 million in debt over 15 years. The documents say that you stopped making the $1,300 payments back in 2010. So the question here is, what happened? You have 60 seconds.
What I want to make sure we do is something that New York Post didn't do, was make sure folks know that we've been transparent about this for 10 years. It's been discussed time ad nauseum, usually comes up at times like this. But I also want to put the context of what was going on. Go back to a young man in his 20s purchasing a home, a dream, which I was able to do. And then trying to open a restaurant, which was another dream. And then being steered, like so many homeowners at that time. You can look up what happened countrywide. So many black homeowners were steered to really subprime exploitative loans. And that occurred here. By the time this was finished, I didn't even know who owned the home to negotiate with. They would not negotiate. They would not try to change what was going on. And it's a difficult process that many New Yorkers have gone through. What I do want to make sure I'm clear in understanding is that I still have some privilege. There were people on the same day that occurred that lost their primary home, that are now trying to figure out where they're going to live, that lost generational wealth. And I'm going to continue to do what I can to make sure that stops happening.
Mr. Williams, thank you. Ms. Rajkumar, you have criticized your opponent for identifying as a socialist. But per a recent report from Politico, you also said you identified as one while filling out a questionnaire prior to your 2020 assembly run. So the question here is, do you still identify this way? And if not, what changed? You have 60 seconds.
I'm not a socialist. I've never been a socialist. Everyone who is a socialist knows I'm not one. But when I run for office, I put out a questionnaire to all Democratic groups who ally with the Democratic Party. And I talked to everybody. That's my policy. I'm very inclusive. So that's what I did. And I always state my beliefs. On that questionnaire, I said I believe all New Yorkers deserve opportunity. All New Yorkers deserve affordability. And those are principles that I stand by. I have always stood by the same principles my entire life.
Ms. Rajkumar, thank you.
May I?
You can have 15 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we not sway with political winds because it's important. And what's important to me is people don't even know what a democratic socialist is. So I want New Yorkers to understand, if you believe in public libraries, you actually believe in some democratic socialist ideals. If you believe in public schools, you believe in some democratic social ideals.
Thank you very much.
So I just want to be
Thank you
clear
very
because we
much.
weaponize these words that people
Thank you,
don't know.
Mr. Williams. And we are up against the clock. Time flies when you're having fun. It is time for closing statements. Candidates, Ms. Rajkumar, in a random drawing, you were selected to go first. You have 60 seconds here for your closing.
Right now, I'm asking all New Yorkers to believe that we can do better. I will be only the 4th woman ever elected to a citywide office in New York City's history. And this is what we need right now. We need somebody who's going to focus on results, who can get it done, not someone who sleeps until noon, who runs a remote office 3 years after COVID, who was anti-choice most of his life. Right now, we need a fighter. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I'm an accomplished legislator that's driven forward impossible wins. And I will give everything I have for you, New Yorkers. I live a life of service. I live a life that's 24/7 public service. And that's what you deserve in a public advocate. So tonight, I'm asking you to believe that we can do better. Thank you so much.
Ms. Rajkumar, thank you. Mr. Williams, 60 seconds for your closing statement. Your time starts now.
Thank you again, and to all the sponsors. And to New Yorkers, I know you're concerned. I know you feel unsafe. I know you feel like you can't afford to live here. And I know you want a public advocate who has experience standing up and is actually running for the job that they want and understands what their job is. Throughout the debate, I said that I will try to not go into attacks that are almost baseless and focus on what this office can do for you. I also said that Assembly member may not be able to talk about what the 5 charter mandated jobs actually of the City Council, the public advocate. It's in the City Charter. You can introduce legislation. You're an ombudsman for the people of the city. You're a charter cop to make sure that agencies are doing their job. You have appointments to the people like CCRB and City Planning Commission, and you have a vote on the pension board. We have used all of those tools greatly to support you. But there's so much more that needs to be done. I'm asking you to vote for someone who knows what this job is, has been using it, will stand up for you, has the greatest intersection of changing advocacy to action, to results and policy, passing more pieces of legislation than any public advocate combined. You're worried about Donald Trump. You're worried about the mayor. You can count on an advocate that you know will stand up for you transparently and with courage.
Mr. Williams, thank you very much. And thank you all at home for watching this official Democratic primary debate for New York City Public Advocate. I also want to thank the 2 candidates, Mr. Williams, Ms. Rajkumar, for being here tonight. Our partners, Julia Papa from 1010 Wins, Edwin Martinez from El Diario for their questions. And of course, my colleague Henry Rossoff here for co-moderating. You can tune in next Wednesday night, everybody. Big show at 6:30 p.m. for Seeking City Hall, the 2025 New York City Democratic Mayoral Forum. We'll have very tough questions for the leading candidates just days before early voting begins. And remember, polls open for the primary elections June 14th and run through June 22nd. The all-important day. Mark it on your calendar. Primary day is Tuesday, June 24th. And before you cast your ballot, you could head to nycvotes.org for more election information and pix11.com for continuing coverage of all of these races. That's all for now, everybody. On behalf of Pix 11, I'm Dan Manarino. Have a great night.
Pix 11's got your Sunday matinee. The Amazing swept the Rockies in 3 games at Citi Field. Now they're looking forward to repeating their success in Colorado. Mets, Rockies, Sunday at 3 on Pix 11 or stream it on pix11.com.